Listen. Do you hear that? It's the sound of every human soul crying for home. Rumi said this cry never stops. It follows you from birth to death. And once you understand why, you'll never feel lost again. Have you ever felt homesick? But not for any place you've actually been. Like there's somewhere you belong, but you can't name it? You're not alone. Modern psychology calls this existential homesickness, and it affects millions of people today. But 800 years ago, a Persian poet named Rumi understood this feeling so deeply that he opened his greatest work with a story about it. In 1258, in the city of Konya, Rumi began dictating what would become the Masnavi, one of the most influential works of mystical poetry ever written. But he didn't start with grand philosophical statements. He started with something simple, the sound of a reed flute crying. Listen to the story told by the reed of being separated. Since I was cut from the reed bed, I have made this crying sound. Anyone apart from someone he loves understands what I say. Anyone pulled from a source longs to go back. This isn't just poetry. This is psychology. Rumi was describing something that modern researchers have spent decades trying to understand. The feeling of not belonging, of being displaced, of homesickness for a home that doesn't exist in any geography. Think about it. Why do so many successful people still feel empty? Why do we feel lonely in crowded rooms? Why does achievement sometimes make us feel more isolated, not less? Research from the University of Rochester shows that even when people have everything they thought they wanted, many still report feeling spiritually homeless. Rumi's reed flute gives us the answer. The reed was once part of something larger. It grew in a reed bed, connected to the earth, surrounded by other reeds. But then it was cut away, separated, made into something useful, beautiful even. A flute that can create the most haunting melodies. But it never stops mourning what it lost. I want a heart which is torn from separation, so that I may explain the pain of yearning. This is your life. You were born into this world, but part of you remembers being connected to something infinite, something whole. You've been shaped into who you are today, but deep down, there's always been this sense that something is missing, that you don't quite fit. Modern psychology has a name for this. Social psychologist Roy Baumeister calls it the belongingness hypothesis. Humans have an innate drive for connection, for belonging somewhere. When that need isn't met, we experience what researchers call social pain. But Rumi went deeper. He wasn't just talking about social belonging. He was talking about existential belonging. The reed flute doesn't just miss other reeds. It misses being rooted. It misses the source that gave it life. And this is why you feel homesick for places you've never been. Why you sometimes look at the stars and feel an inexplicable longing. Why certain music or certain moments make you feel like you're remembering something you've forgotten. At any gathering I am there, mingling in the laughing and grieving, a friend to each. But few will hear the secrets hidden within the sound of my voice. You know this feeling. You can be surrounded by people, even people you love, and still feel fundamentally alone. Not because they don't care about you, but because there's something in you that they can't reach. Something that predates this life, this world, this particular version of yourself. Research from Harvard psychologist Susan David shows that this sense of displacement is actually increasing in our modern world. We're more connected than ever through technology, but rates of loneliness and existential anxiety have skyrocketed. Why? Because we've created a world of surface connections while our souls cry out for something deeper. The reed flute song touches people because it speaks to this universal experience. When you hear a mournful melody, why does it move you? Rumi would say, it's because you recognize your own voice in it, the voice of the part of you that remembers what you've lost. But here's where Rumi's teaching becomes profound. The reed flute doesn't stop making music because it's separated from its source. In fact, It's precisely because it's been cut away that it can make music at all. The hollow space inside it, the absence, is what allows the breath to flow through and create sound. The reed's lament is fire, not wind. Whoever doesn't have this fire should be not. Your sense of displacement, your homesickness, your feeling of not quite belonging anywhere, this isn't a problem to be solved. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's the source of your creativity, your compassion, your drive to grow and connect and create meaning. Think about the people who have moved you most in your life. Were they the ones who seemed perfectly content, who fit seamlessly into their circumstances? Or were they the ones who carried a certain depth, a certain yearning? The ones who seemed to be searching for something? Existential psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, wrote about this. He noticed that the people who survived the camps were often those who maintained a sense that their lives had meaning beyond their immediate circumstances. They carried what he called existential homesickness, a longing for purpose that kept them connected to something larger than their suffering. This is what Rumi understood about the reed flute. Its beautiful sound comes from its wound. The hole where it was cut from the reed bed is the same opening that allows music to flow through it. Everyone hears according to their own understanding. None seeks out the secrets of my heart. But most people don't understand this. They try to fill the emptiness with things, with achievements, with relationships, with distractions. They think the goal is to stop feeling homesick, to finally arrive somewhere and feel complete. Rumi is telling you something different. The homesickness isn't going away. It's not supposed to. It's your compass. It's what keeps you growing, searching, reaching for something greater than what you currently have. Modern psychology confirms this. Research on what psychologists call optimal anxiety shows that a certain level of dissatisfaction, of not quite belonging, actually drives personal growth and creativity. People who are completely satisfied tend to stop growing. People who feel slightly displaced keep evolving. But there's a crucial difference between destructive homesickness and what Rumi is describing. Destructive homesickness makes you bitter, resentful, unable to appreciate what you have. It makes you feel like a victim of circumstances. The homesickness of the reed flute is different. It's conscious. It's chosen. The reed flute doesn't deny its separation or pretend it's not real. But it also doesn't let that separation make it silent. Instead, it transforms its pain into something beautiful that touches other people's hearts. If you want to know about separation's pain, listen to my voice. Anyone who's been pulled from their source will understand my song. This is your invitation. Not to solve your homesickness, but to understand it. To let it make you more human, not less. To recognize that your sense of displacement connects you to everyone else who has ever felt like they don't quite belong. When you feel that familiar ache, that sense that you're not quite home, even when you're surrounded by everything you thought you wanted, remember the reed flute. Remember that this feeling isn't evidence that something is wrong with your life. It's evidence that you're alive to something bigger than your immediate circumstances. Research on homesickness shows that people who learn to befriend this feeling, rather than fight it, develop what psychologists call existential resilience. They become more compassionate, more creative, more able to connect with others who are also searching. Because everyone is searching. Everyone carries some version of the reed flute's song. Some people have just learned to listen to it differently. Rumi wrote thousands of verses, but he kept coming back to this image. The reed cut from the reed bed, making music from its wound, calling others to remember what they've lost and what they might still find. This reed is a friend to all who have felt the knife of separation. Your homesickness isn't a problem to be solved. It's a song to be sung. A way of staying connected to the mystery of what it means to be human in a world that often feels too small for the size of our souls. The next time You feel that familiar ache, that sense of not quite belonging. Don't rush to fill it with distractions. Listen to it. Let it remind you that you're part of something larger than what you can see. Let it connect you to everyone else who has ever looked at the stars and felt homesick for infinity. This is Rumi's gift to you. Not the promise that you'll finally arrive somewhere and feel complete, but the understanding that your very sense of displacement is what makes you capable of creating beauty, of touching other hearts, of being truly alive. The reed flute song never ends, and neither should yours.